Can you hear now? Okay, thanks. So we did develop our own course critique instrument, and the idea behind it is that people can use this instrument to make their courses better in advance of designing. They can look at the criteria for design of their courses, how a course is evaluated, and use that to improve the quality of their course designs. So the takeaways today are the acknowledged need for best practice in quality online courses. We just want you to know that the state does require that we have some formal system in place. And we have developed this course review form that, let's go ahead and hand that out. In collaboration with a lot of different people, this criteria was established, a lot of different resources we used, and then a lot of people here on campus were informed and reviewed it and kind of checked it off as good, including the graduate school. Online course review form is applied to. We're gonna take this form and apply it to a class. Maybe, I don't know if you guys want to do that, but we could just take real quickly if you want to look at that. So the best practices basically summarized. The best practices as identified by SACS, Southern Association for Colleges, and the Higher Education Coordinating Board, basically can be summarized as alignment, presence, interaction, and engagement for course design. Anything that we say here that's applied to assessment of a quality online course can also be applied when assessing a face-to-face class. So let's just look at alignment and what that's about. What we mean by alignment is that there are certain standards that are adopted. Sometimes those standards are very formal. For instance, in the College of Business, there are very specific standards associated with an MBA that are national standards. Same thing with math and science, undergraduate math and science classes. So if you begin designing your course in response to standards, then the notion is that the curriculum of that class is aligned to those standards. Meets exactly what it is the standards say it should meet. And then the instruction associated with the class also is aligned with the standards and the curriculum. And then your assessments in your class are also aligned with the standards, curriculum, and instruction, so that, many of us, I'm sure, have taken classes where we went through the processes of the class and then found that the test had some different stuff on it, and so the test wasn't very well aligned to the instruction. That can be problematic, and so that's one of the really important qualities of any class, that the curriculum, standards, instruction, and assessments are all aligned. Boom, curriculum, instruction, standards, and assessments, all aligned. So presence is also important in quality online courses. We think in terms of online and the student perhaps being somewhat isolated. So we want to overcome that isolation in an online class by assuring that the instructor has a solid presence in the class, and that students have a solid presence in the class and a regular presence. So we want to establish clarity about participation. These are some ways that we can do that. Just making sure that we as instructors are present regularly. Students can count on us to be there. And we similarly can count on students to be there. Sort of the bottom line on a quality class is that everybody's there working away. There's frequent communication in the class. So that, announcements are being made, discussions are ongoing. Students are receiving messages from the instructor, and there's some back and forth going on, frequent communication. Expressions of emotional support for students. We always have, in a semester, frankly, someone's mother or grandmother, or there's illness, or a student, very often goes into the hospital during the semester at some time, loses a boyfriend. We have heartache, and so we want to give our students the emotional support to get through their courses in spite of that. So expressions of emotional support are actually really important in a class. So tools for increasing presence, There are very many. Just making sure that you're there, we can just check these off and make sure that through various means we are present. Then there's interaction that also needs to take place, very closely tied to presence, and we want to make sure that there's lots of interaction by the student. And here's a little graphic that shows the different types of interaction that takes place in online classes. The student has to interact with the interface. And so the interface needs to be very easy to follow, uncluttered, very simple. Of course, the easiest interface to follow on the planet is the Google interface. That's a good lesson for us all. We design a class that's very, very clean, doesn't have a bunch of mess on it. Keep the interface very straightforward, where the student doesn't have to negotiate their understanding of where to go when. Learner to content interaction, of course, is the most important thing. That student is interacting with content on a regular basis, keeping it solidly in their brains, and working deeply with that content. Learner support interaction. Students need to be supported in their as they're learning. They need to know that if things break down, this is who I call. If something's not working, this is how I get support for that. And then we've gone within the class, the design of the class. We have learner to learner, learner to instructor, and learner to expert. And those interactions need to be well designed in that space, and they all need to be happening. Now, that expert might, and is most often the instructor, but it might be that we pull in an outside expert, and that's a very important kind of interaction to have. So, and then learner to context interaction, that is to say that when we have distant students, do they feel like islanders? Are they part of this context, this university context? And that becomes very important in our class too, that our students know they are CAM-UCC students, they are islanders, they identify with that, and I haven't heard anyone express it as well as Jason Saladinar does. He really tells that story of the importance of that identification. So the context is really, really important. And then, of course, engagement is very important. So, and this is something that, we don't have to go into depth in because y'all know how important engagement is. The best way to do it in an online class is to have a case-based, problem-based, or project-based type environment, as y'all know. I have a model. I'm not going to go into depth in it, but it's a model for developing case-based, problem, and project-based work. It's a model that's been funded by the National Science Foundation, and they just love it. It works very, very well for designing instruction. I've used it for software engineering as well as for design of online courses. And if you want to have a class environment that's case, problem, or project-based learning, this is a nice model to follow because it makes it pretty easy. It just operationalizes the process so that you say, okay, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, and by golly, at the end, you have your environment designed. Begins with identifying all the things you want a student to learn in that environment, and welcome. So I'm sorry to say this, but I'm going to back up because we have new people here, and is that okay?
Sorry, it's a long walk from my
No,
home.
we're so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. This is our gang. This is the Center for Faculty Excellence, Elite, the Office of Distance Education, and I'm presenting to folks who sort of already know all of this. So I think it's worthwhile to back up for y'all.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So who are you, and what are you all teaching?
College of Nursing and Health Sciences, both of us nursing.
Hi. Yes. Okay, good up, good up. So I'm going to I'll go very briefly through. What we want is for this hour to acknowledge the need for best practice and quality online courses, and this is the story of our development of an online course review process in the Office of Distance Ed, and we have an online course review form that Alexandra Janney, you all know Alexandra, will give to you, and we're going to apply it. We're going to go to a class and look at that class and apply what this form. to that. So as far as best practices are concerned, we can summarize the SACS, Southern Association of Colleges, and the Higher Education Coordinating Board's summary of best practices. And in this way, they value alignment. A good course is aligned. A good course has presence. The instructor and students are present in that course. There's a tremendous amount of interaction, if not daily, every other day. There's interaction going on the part of the student and the teacher. And then active engagement. The students are highly engaged. And now I'm going to zoom forward and get to the nuts and bolts of our instrument. So the instrument basically, looks at all of those four and determines whether or not those four criteria are present in your course. We've used the instrument on 4 different classes. Right now, we've got 2 more in the line that I need to evaluate. I'm hoping to do it today. So, here we go. So, a way to assure that your classes are highly engaging is to make them case, problem, and project-based. And of course, in the College of Nursing, you all are the founders of case-based learning, so you all know what we're talking about here. This patient has this problem, and what do I do? And so case-based is really very fundamental to medical classes, classes that teach medical concepts. And we have this model that we're disseminating on campus for easy design of an online class, or a class period. It doesn't have to be online, but we use this model to design software, instructional software, and to design online classes. It's worked well. The National Science Foundation endorses it and quite loves it. It goes through a stepwise process for designing online instruction, and if you follow the steps, all be darned, at the end you have your course that is a high quality, highly engaging, highly interactive, lots of presence type class. So we're going to use the instrument now that we've given you. We're going to go to an online class. It's my class. It's a class that I teach. And we were going to have you get into small groups, and so I guess we're already situated kind of in small groups. Lisa and JC are a little bit. And we're going to review the criteria on the handout first. So we want you to look over the handout, see what's on it, and you know what? Your input would be wonderful. If you see something that's missing that you think needs to be on this list, we're looking to hear that. You don't guarantee we'll make the change because it's already gone through ITDDC, the Instructional Technology Distance Education Advisory Committee, and they've kind of signed off on it. And then we're going to review, after you've reviewed the instrument together, talked about it a little bit. We'd like you to talk about it with each other. What do you think is really good about it or really bad about it? And then we're going to go to the course and look at the criteria that way. Okay? Okay, so we're going to use the form. Alexandra's going to walk you through it. And I'm going to, and you'll see how fast it is to actually use this to determine whether or not a class kind of gets checked off as, yeah, fine. And we'll just one by one look at the criteria. She'll read it out, and I'll show you where it is in the course. That'll give you that should give you an idea of how to use the instrument.
Having said it, most of your 1 through 11 pretty much will be satisfied with the syllabus that usually is added to all the online classes, but we will check making sure that all the necessary components are there anyways. So if I'm a reviewer and I'm looking at Dr. Cifuentes' class, I don't necessarily need to know the content. I'm not a content expert. I cannot make any judgment on her content. What I'm looking at just basic flow, understanding, engagement, components of the course, because I can't obviously lay out a decision. So I would be looking where Dr. Cifuentes, what does she advise students how to prepare their computer and browser, and why is that important? It's the first #1 problem that your student may bump into if if they don't have the proper version of Java, they have too much Java, or they're using IE versus Firefox, and you don't advise them to go to Firefox, they may open the course and will open to a blank page. They don't see because IE has some security issues. If too much Java is added to your computer, it's just not going to work. So we ask that instructors, as number one step, let students know about you need to do certain steps to make sure that your computer is ready for successful interaction with the class, for successful participation. So Laura, would you please show us where is that advisory document?
Okay, and I want to say that just in case people can't get into Blackboard initially, I send out an email 2 weeks before the class even begins, telling them how to set their computer up, and how to get it set so that they can use Blackboard, so that they've got their Java set up and whatnot. And so they get that, but then in addition to that, where it says start here, if they click here, it takes them to, we're going to be slow today, are we?
Well, you're
Oh, I'm on start here, never mind. So, okay, so start here is, and I do have to scroll down, but it's because of the resolution on this screen. A lot of this is what's called above the fold for students. On my computer, for instance, it's all above the fold. They don't have to scroll down to get to it. But getting started at Blackboard tells them where to go to get all the tutorials and what they need to have, what the steps are for getting what it is, the 5 steps to prepare the computer. We have that also, just so that you know, you can refer students to it. We have it on the distance education website, on our Office of Distance Ed website. We have these 5 steps to prepare under student resources.
Sure. For number 2, we're asking that you provide help desk instructions and to think about it so the computers don't think you're their computer expert. You point them in the right direction, ask the right person. You're not expected to know the computer and specifications. There's people trained for that. So if you provide very simply the instructions to the help desk, your students will know what to ask the right person. So if you will show us where is it at.
So, and I find myself wanting to edit this, so. Because, look at that, oops, no, I do not want to ever edit it. I'm not gonna do it here in the HTML code. But you'll see that there is not a return here between my email and the help desk. But this is the phone number, and right on the front page, that's where it is, so that they can get their help if they need it, how to send an email to me, and how to get to the help desk. Right there. It's also at the very top of the syllabus, so it's in multiple places, how to get a hold of them. Okay.
Then we're asking to provide a course description.
Okay. So here we go to the syllabus now, and you'll see that the contact information is all here. This is interesting, the resolution on this is why.
I'll have to look at that.
So you obviously have to scroll down here. I'm not going to take time to do that for you, but the course description is at the top of the syllabus, as the university requires. Also, information on how to reach is here.
And that's 3 and 4, course description and instructor information. Then 5, we have articulated course purpose and defines audience.
There it is. Next thing in the syllabus.
Next thing is defines prerequisites, if any.
And that is also in that statement. Let's see. Purpose, it's up here. Course description and prerequisites.
Is students learning outcomes?
Okay, that's in the College of Education. Our courses have to be tied to the Texas competencies, and I'm guessing that in nursing you've got formal competencies that things have to be tied to. This is where you would put those to assure that there's alignment. So I have the Texas competencies, and then I also have the student learning outcomes defined in the syllabus. This is the graduate studies format for a syllabus, by the way. So if it's
I don't know what happened with the tables. I was actually fixing it for Dr. Cifuentes, and I think it's the percentages they went to solid pixels for those of you who know, but I'll have it fixed. List student learning outcomes. Which are the outcomes? States required recommended readings.
there are the readings.
Then we have evaluation and grading criteria.
Okay, so this is then the topic. That's another thing on the list here, topics and assignments and exams, and the whole schedule, of course. You need that, and that's next in the syllabus. So, and I always tell students, print this out, and tape it on their desk, so that they meet deadlines for the class.
And number 10, delineate assignments, projects, papers, exams.
And that's here, the list of, and you'll see that there are 9 different topics, and that's one of the really important and best ways to assure presence and interaction is have a whole bunch of assignments. And then students have to interact, and you have to be in there present because you're receiving stuff often and having to get feedback often. So there's a lot of, when you have a class that's this active, there's a lot of interaction and presence just necessary to run the class to get the job done. So,
Number 11, suggest course outline or topics, descriptions of subject/activity.
okay, so that's up here in this schedule, basically the calendar for the class. It has the unit topics, assignments, and exam, and then dates associated with them. So that just outlines the whole class.
Number 12, provide specific dates, deadlines, and/or calendar to students.
All in that. And there is a calendar built into Blackboard. I don't use it. I put their calendar in their syllabus as one page. It's something that they can print out, and it's just so easy. It's much easier to follow than it is to go to the calendar every day.
Number 13 and 14, that's accessibility standards and U.S. copyright rules.
Okay, and those are workshops coming up here this semester that are part of the credentialing process on campus. Every faculty member ideally will go through each of those workshops. So if you come to those, we can check that off as part of your certificate program. So, you know, anybody that comes to that will get that checked off on their certificate program, not have to take it later if they want to get an online certificate and online teaching.
Number 15, addresses plagiarism and academic integrity.
Okay, that's also in this. So much can be covered in the syllabus. That's way down at the bottom of the syllabus. A plagiarism statement, related issues, academic integrity, course products and evaluations, copyright and plagiarism. So that policy is here. I'm sure you all, I think we're required by the university to include that in our syllabus.
Number 16, use technology to fulfill the performance identified in the objectives.
Okay, so that requires that we go through the course and look at the objectives in each module and determine, is the technology available to students to make this happen? And is the appropriate technology being used to make this happen? So for instance, if we want students to reflect deeply on a particular topic, the best technology of choice would be a journal or an online discussion that requires deep participation. So you want to match up your technology, and we look for this carefully throughout the class to make sure that outcomes are in fact aligned to the technology used.
And the next one ties in with the technology. It says provide student guidance and instructions for use of technology.
Okay, so we would look through the class, and what I do in my class is I send a message in the class to all students when they are to use a new technology. So for instance, they use the wiki. I have in their class, they use the wiki a good bit, and they don't know how to use it initially. And so I sent them, the very first week of class, I send them the tutorial for using the wiki. That way, they don't have to go out hunting for it. I don't say, go to here and find it. I send it to them to make the use of that technology easy, straightforward. That's not a barrier to getting the job done. So it's kind of a just-in-time instruction.
Right. Number 18 contains clear, consistent, and correct instructions, layout, and font throughout.
So to look at that, what we'll have to do is go to the class itself. Consistent. Okay, so we'll go to the class
Clear,
itself.
consistent, correct, layout, and font.
Okay,
Instructions.
so every module in the class, I'm going to units A through H right now. So every unit in the class is in a particular sequence. So there's an orientation session that we have, and that's a face-to-face offering if they want it. And I tell them I want them to come if they're in Texas, or if they're out of Texas, please fly here if you can. And then, or we'll meet via video conference. I know the College of Nursing does a bunch of that. Then we have the units, Unit A and B, for instance, and then we go all the way down through. It's all linear. There's a case, it's a case-based class, so there's a case, and then the units associated with that case are Unit C through H. And if we go into any unit, we'll see that they pretty much look the same. I'm going to pick one at random, visualizing procedures. So every unit just basically looks like this. It's a list of files that they go through, and then Unit D, it's got headings, and every unit has a rationale, why they're learning this, a scenario, it's a small scenario within the case, the foundations, what do they need to read, what's the content, and then an activity. Every unit has an activity, and every unit has an assessment associated with it. So that's the basic consistent format of all units A through H. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So 8 units in the class.
Number 19 has logical and easy to follow structure and navigation.
Okay, so the structure of a class is going to vary. I think in the college and university, we pretty much use the same structure across all classes, don't you? And we're working right now, actually Alexandra's working right now on that template, making it really consistent across all classes. For Eli.
Yeah.
But then I've heard that the other classes, we all use the same. Yeah.
Right.
So I think we're going to go to the graduate classes with this new template as well. So the unit, what?
Your text editor keeps on coming over.
Okay, so this is the organization of the class, and I let students know this up front, that the class is organized in this way. There's a case that they have to solve the first month of the class, and that case, the content associated with solving that case is in units A through B. And then there's a second case that they work through and solve the rest of the class, and that's case 2. And that case consists of the rest of the units C through H, and this is how they're all interrelated conceptually. So they see the concept, how all the concepts relate to one another in the class. They get it basically a concept map of the course, so that they hopefully deeply understand what it is they're supposed to do and why.
Number 20, provide student expectations in each module.
Okay, so in this class, as I said before, if you go to the modules, units A through H, let's look at just unit A. Thanks. Okay, so expectations in this unit. Now, typically, what we might do is have, and what we encourage you to do, is to have clear outcome statements at the beginning of each unit. And the way that I did that in this class got a little bit away from the idea of objectives, partly because we all know that students skip them. Unfortunately, you know, when in the 80s and 90s, objectives were the thing everybody studied first. That was, students were trained to do that. Students don't, they skip over objectives now. So I did it as rationale instead. And actually what I did is I kind of pulled my class to see, hey, are you reading those objectives? Found out that they weren't. And so I stated them as a rationale instead. So this is what you're, in the rationale, I have a kind of a statement of this is what you're going to learn and this is why you're going to learn it. And basically this is a class for instructional designers, and so you know, I begin with educators need to communicate with learners. In education, content is typically blah, 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 blah. So I'm providing a rationale. This is why you're going to do what you're going to do in this particular unit. So it's a hidden, it's a stealthful way of giving students something that they otherwise wouldn't read.
Number 21 contains content in modules or units that are presented in a logical succession.
Okay, I think I got that. Okay, so you can see we can
22 incorporates all materials necessary to succeed in the modules and the entire course.
Okay, again, the format of each module repeats itself. You've got your rationale, you've got your links, you've got a few introductory pieces. They, in this one, actually take a little introductory pre-quiz kind of a thing. Got links to readings, express readings, references that they might want to go to just for fun, optional. Scenario, this is what you're going to do again. This is what we're going to address here in this class. All the foundations. Read pages blank, 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 blank to prepare you for this particular activity. And then the activity, this is what you're going to do in each unit, and then the assessment. So that's the basic format that gets people through consistently through each unit. Did I answer the question?
Sure. 23 provides specific instructions for proctored exams taken at remote locations as if applicable.
Okay, and it's not, but I know in y'all's it is. So of course, I know that y'all are very good at informing folks of how the College of Nursing is proctored exams. So if you live in Timbuktu, you go to a proctor and you pay that proctor to watch you take your test.
Number 24 describes the instructor's feedback policy.
So that typically you would do in your syllabus. You'd say something to the effect of all of your assignments will be graded within a week or whatever your time frame is. For me, it's a week. It's a long time. But all of your and then anything that you want to tell them about feedback. But the best solution to being really clear with students about feedback is to provide rubrics in your class. So all 9 of my assignments in this class have a rubric associated with them. Then when I give students their feedback, I just float them the rubric and any comments that I want to make about their assignment. Makes it very easy to give them very specific feedback because the rubric has all the criteria in it. Do y'all use rubrics in nursing? A lot?
Not a lot.
Pretty much.
50%? Yeah, pretty half the time.
Yeah. So with problem and project and case-based, it's a great idea to create rubrics because when you do, you've taken the time to spell out all the criteria that's important to you, and that way it makes giving feedback so much easier.
Number 25 provides opportunities for students to receive the feedback.
Okay, again, rubrics are rubric. Yep.
Number
So
26.
there's a rubric, for instance, in the end. Each unit has an assessment, not each. 9 of the units have assessments, have rubrics associated with them, tied to the assignments.
I think we were also talking that if you're working towards the final project, give feedback in the stages in between so the students can develop and don't grade at the end, but provide feedback as they go through the stages so when they come to the final, they already have met the expectations. Number 26 provides instruments to measure student submissions and interactions.
And again, we provide for you a rubric in the I Teach Online class, your Blackboard Online class. We provide a rubric for you to evaluate discussions, online discussions. It's a great rubric that we're hoping people will adopt and use. It just makes grading discussions is a ridiculously crazy process when they're big and you've got lots and lots to read. So having a rubric for each student just gives you a way to evaluate each student's effort in the discussion.
Number 27 provides opportunities for student reflection, collaboration, and interaction with peers and content.
Okay, and again, that requires looking deeply at the whole class and determining that, yes, indeed, across the period of time of the class, be it a semester-long 16-week or a 7-week class, that there is interaction, that there's required interaction regularly across that time, that there's not just oh, I know this person is here midterm, and I know this person is here by the end, that there's actually regular entry into the class. And do y'all know about the performance dashboard to look at students in participation in your class? You know this? I'm going to show you, just in case. So, here's my class, and I'm going to ask you to not, maybe I shouldn't show this because it's got names associated with it, and that might be a breach of FERPA, now that I think about it. But I can go to, I'll show you where to go. So I can go to, under evaluation here in my control panel, and I wish I could block these names. And then I can go to the performance dashboard. Under evaluation, there are course reports, early warning system, performance dashboard, and SCORM reports. I'm going to go to the performance dashboard. Let me see how straight to do this. So it's got all these names. I need to have a shadow. So what I can do is I can look at the last time everybody has been in my class. There's a 0, which means days since last course act. They've all been in it today. That tells me I'm probably doing a pretty good job. So, okay, I'm going to get off the screen. Don't look at anything. Okay, so, but I can scroll down and see everyone in the class and see when they were last in and information about how many times they participated in discussions and whatnot. It gives me some scoop on each person. There's one person, by the way, on the list who hasn't been in 22 days. So, early alert, I'm able to say, oops, in fact, I sent an email to Elite on that issue. Because I asked JP, what do I do? This person is gone. And he said, send an email to Elite, she's a graduate student. And send an email to
today, actually.
Okay. Yes, so where is she? And she hasn't turned in I have 2 assignments already that she hasn't turned in. So I'm kind of nervous about her absence. I'm sure you have that too, where people just don't show up.
Yeah. In the grade book, there's a column when you look at the grade book that says last access. Is that last access for the grade book or last access to the course?
Of course.
Because you can see there too, the last
Get there more fast. Yeah, we go to the grade book more often.
Yeah, I'm in that several times a day, so.
Really? Wow.
Okay, number 28 requires instructor and student presence.
Oh, okay. Same general idea. That's something that we would have to look for. We'd have to look at the assignments, see that they, in fact, do require very regular entry into the class and interaction in the class as well. Interaction is the best way to assure presence.
29 calls for frequent student submissions to ensure engagement.
Okay, these are also closely related, aren't they? So, 9 assignments kind of does that. When you've got that many assignments, it assures that students, and when you have a case-based design or a project-based or problem-based design that guides students through that project, requires interaction, requires presence.
Number 30 is pretty similar, except not submissions, but requires frequent student interactions.
Okay, same idea. It's all kind of covered. Frankly, it's all covered really well if you have case-based or project-based design and if you have rubrics. That's sort of the easy solution to this type of assurance.
31 provides opportunities to create meaningful products that relate to real-world artifacts or experiences.
And that depends on your project or your case or your problem that they're trying to solve. Is it engaging? Is it meaningful? Is it, and of course in nursing, I dare say everything you do is, because it's all sort of ultimately hands-on and ultimately part of a hard day's work. So you have such an applied field that it makes case and project and problem case a no-brainer.
Actually, did you notice that there's negative points that you can apply in your grades if the student accidentally overdosed or harmed the patient? You can take points away, not the wrong guess, but you lose points for the wrong guess. It's just something that Blackboard is doing. It's just something, that little thing, like, especially in nursing, if you administer the wrong drug or wrong prescription, your patient can die, so you're penalized for guessing the wrong choice.
So do you do that by putting a minus in front of the number?
Well, you have to go to the column under and like minus it out.
Right. Okay, so yesterday I did that by accident. Whoa, what happened? Yeah.
But that's what it is, that's what it's for. You penalize for guessing. It's not just no points, it's negative points. And then 32, we ask to brag about special outstanding teachers. If you have something new that you created in your course or something that's spectacular, wonderful, you think is great, and you'd like to share it with us, the instructor, share what you have, what you do, what's your best teacher.
Okay, so that's the instrument. Any questions about it and what we're doing with it or anything else you might want to know?
So I just wanted to clarify, is it your department then that's going to be evaluating every online course?
That's a great question. We are starting by evaluating just those people who are getting an online course development and teaching and course review certificate. So those people are sending us their courses, we're entering them and we're reviewing them. Once we've done all, and we think that that's going to be an ongoing process. I mean, we think that that's going to give us, well, we've got 34 right now, and we're going to have 20 more in December. So that's going to give us plenty to do here, and it's a very good start on getting our, it's a SACS compliant start to and a systematic process for review that fulfills what SACS wants us to do. So, no, every course probably not. Right now, that's our process, and it might ultimately mean that yes, we'll have reviewed every course.
You know, like that. Baby steps.
Down the road, down the road. You know what, we should count these courses